My colleague Konstantinos just dropped this video, and as the pixeled out guy who created the one campaign method, we gotta talk about it. Today we're opening up ad accounts and getting into the weeds. He's gonna break down his thoughts on my strategy, and I'm gonna break down his as he shares it. Piece by piece, no fluff, no holds barred, just two operators looking at the truth of how this stuff actually works.
Hello Facebook people, I'm Konstantinos, and today we're going to discuss why a lot of times people fail when they're working with multiple campaigns. First of all, I would like to clarify something, that I have never seen a person that is actually doing ads inside multiple ad accounts, having multiple clients, being a freelancer or whatever, or maybe having multiple stores, using the one campaign strategy and the fewer ads and all of that. And the reason that I haven't seen it is because it doesn't happen a lot. I'm not excluding the possibility of this working in one or two accounts that they have scaled. I don't believe that it's long term. I believe also that it can work maybe and scale and then the account is going to collapse. I don't believe that it's a correct strategy. I believe that you should work with multiple campaigns, multiple angles, multiple creatives, and I believe that the Andromeda update is also about that.
Okay, real quick, as the inventor of the one campaign method, I also don't think anybody's really gotten there with one campaign. The one campaign method is about having one campaign per business objective. So you might have one campaign driving to your hero product, the item that when you sell it, most likely gets somebody to come back and buy again so that you can scale retention and reoccurring revenue, which is how you get cash flow. That's how you scale a business. You might have another campaign that's maybe all of your catalogs, so you can improve the volume of conversions to suppress your blended CPA. You might also have a campaign that specifically sells bundles and retargeting audiences to boost the average order value and to overcome objections around the offer. So as somebody that invented the one campaign, I can tell you that Konstantinos here, I think, is saying that he hasn't seen somebody that doesn't use the one campaign method properly succeed. And I can also share that sentiment. I've never seen that. I think you should have multiple campaigns if you can afford multiple business objectives. I don't think you should do that as an excuse to sell a bunch of different products to a bunch of different countries. I think there's a method that media buyers look at to make the ad account look good that ultimately gets in the way of what the business owner needs to make the business grow. And ultimately, I think the biggest gap between Konstantinos and myself is that I'm trying to make a sustainable growth path for a business. And that comes by trying to acquire cash flow and doing so in a scalable fashion. A good business will scale the ad account. No matter how good your ad account is, if the business isn't good, you're going to struggle. So that being said, I think we actually have a lot of shared room here. However, he featured me and Nick Terrio on the thumbnail and said, hey, come back and do another one of these videos based on larger theory where I show things. So we're here and let's see where it goes. Real quick, if you like this video, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps more people get the right information instead of the usual garbage. And check out Disrupt Your Academy if you want to learn how to run the one campaign method, scale your ad account, and finally see more success with less stress. You can join today for free. Link's right down there. All right, let's get back to it.
Why am I saying that? Because I can see on the internet all the people that I think that they are legit because they are showing ad accounts, or in other words, because I understand that they are legit with the way that they are talking, I can understand that they're actually doing ads, that they see the things that I see, then you're not going to find anyone preaching or teaching that you should work with one campaign and fewer ads. The people that are teaching this kind of stuff on the internet, I'm not going to go on names, you already know them.
He did put Nick Terrio and myself on the thumbnail, and Nick Terrio and me both preach a one campaign method. And again, that doesn't mean that you only ever run one campaign in your ad account. Plus, for the record, there are plenty of people winning just doing that. But what it means is you have one campaign per business objective, and the number of ads does not exceed your ability to measure the impact. You have a control set of ads where you can measure what they're doing against the 4 PIs, so you can understand what's top, middle, or bottom funnel, what's effective, what isn't. And then you have a creative test against that to specifically replace the weakest link. You're having the simplest machine that solves the problem of Can I spend more money? And if you can solve that problem and elevate the business model to improve cash flow, then you will always have more money to then invest into the business. That is how you scale an ad account.
Boom. Roasted.
All of these people are not actively doing campaigns. Maybe they are consulting. Maybe they have a community, a group, a course, I don't know, whatever. They are not actually doing ads. They are not working on ad accounts. They are all about theory. And now that we discussed about the elephant in the room, let's talk a little bit about why they are doing this. Because it is very easy to convince someone who is lazy, and a lot of people on the internet are lazy, that all you need is 5 creatives and 1 campaign and you can scale to the millions.
So I agree that that is a very lazy approach to say that all you need is 5 ads in 1 campaign, you scale to millions. I also think that that's completely disingenuous, and I don't think that that's possible really for anyone. However, I think that to say that being able to solve a problem using simplicity is lazy devalues the idea of having smart solutions. I'm a big believer in the idea that any idiot can solve a problem by making things more complicated. An expert can solve it by making it simpler. Just because you have fewer moving pieces inside of the ad account doesn't mean that the work is easier. It just means that the time and effort you spend doing the hard work is spent on places that have far more impact, like the business.
Okay? And then they're saying things like, yeah, but you need to have for the different products, different campaigns, stuff. Still, they're believing the same thing. They're teaching a lazy way. Some people like the laziness and they want to believe that they will become millionaires in a lazy way, and they do it like this. Do I like the fact that it's more complicated? No, I don't care about the fact that it's more complicated so that I can look that I'm an expert or whatever. I do it because it's working across accounts.
And full disclosure, I believe that it's working for him. I think there's more than one way to get the job done. I think the definition of success, of whether or not you're able to pay your bills or achieve your dreams, is great. I also think, though, that the magnitude of that success and where you can put your time and energy and the impact also really matters. And if you're scaling your business by 20, 30% a year, that's great. But other people are scaling by 200 or 300%. If you're day trading your ad account, working 20 hours a day, you might be successful, but if you could do the same business result on a couple hours a week and put that time and effort into far more sustainable efforts for the growth of your business, rather than trying to stay ahead of a bunch of moving targets inside of the box in one marketing channel, odds are the inflection and the impact of your work will be much greater. So I think people can win a lot of different ways. The real impact here is what is the magnitude of that win and how much are you able to sustain that win? That's what it's really all about.
Do you think that I haven't tried the 1 campaign? I had. It's better for management. A lot of agencies are doing that because it's better for management for them. It wasn't working for me. What is the issue? I was getting fired when I was doing this, so I'm doing something else and I'm keeping my clients. Do they have the same problem? No, because they're not having clients. Simple as that. Doing a consulting call is the most easy thing on the world.
How many from consulting? Oh, that's bad.
You go, you say your opinion, and then you leave, you get paid. The other person, if he doesn't do this, it's his fault. If he does it and it fails, he didn't do it correct. And if he does it and it works, you are the god. You're winning in any case on consulting. The point is what you're doing when you're managing the campaigns inside their account. But enough with that. Let's talk a little bit on why the people are failing when they're using multiple campaigns. So I know it's not sexy, it's not appealing as having 1 campaign, and it's more costly to have more creatives.
Not only is it more costly in the operational cost of having to get all of those creatives, it's more costly in the opportunity cost of trying to attract a bunch of different types of attention, to try to get anybody to buy once instead of getting the right kind of person over and over again and thousands of them to come back and buy again and again. So yes, it's more costly to chase a lot of easy wins. And it's not just in the money put out today to get more ads.
to have influencers, UGC and all of that. Do you need it? Yes, you do need it. And it's not that the algorithm is going to get confused. This is total BS. The algorithm loves it, okay? And this is why they have done also the Andromeda in order to be able to handle all of this information and the different creatives.
Meta Andromeda is a much smarter way of showing users the right ads in the right sequence to get them to take a specific action and give them the best possible experience on the platform. Meta building a smarter delivery machine should not be an excuse to spam the machine with more ads. In fact, it's the reason you don't have to. Building a better machine doesn't give you the authority that you don't have to.
But even from the other side, the people interpret this in a wrong way that you were spamming the platform, so they were forced to do it, the Andromeda. No, they did the Andromeda because this is what they want. They want you to put a lot of creatives. They don't want you to spam the same creative or having one viral creative. They want you to have a lot of good creatives. This is how Meta is actually working. It wants more data. It wants more viral content. You cannot be...
So I agree that it wants more data. I don't know if I agree that it wants more viral content. The data, however, can be from 1,000 ads all getting 100 touch points, or 100 ads getting 1,000 touch points, or 10 ads getting 10,000 touch points. The question is this: do you want 10 ads that have been trained 10,000 times? Or do you want 1,000 ads that have never seen more than 100 people? If you want a smart machine, you have to let your ads learn. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to have sustainable results. And that's why you need to continually launch more ads. And there's a lot more around the delivery with every new ad being pushed into the bottom of the funnel, which is why you're struggling to improve your customer acquisition costs and scale the business. There's a lot more on that, which is why a lot of people end up pushing more products and more offers and more audiences and more everything, because they haven't solved the simple problem that gives them scalable growth in a predictable way. And instead, they're tacking on more band-aids and more solutions, making a more complex machine that ultimately isn't sustainable and becomes more and more expensive. That can work, but it's harder and harder to maintain. And as a business, it becomes way more expensive and way more difficult to sustain. And at the end of the day, there are very, very few businesses that ever get to mid 8 figures or multiple 9 that don't focus on a few things done very, very well. But there are a lot of people struggling to get past 2 or 3 million that do a whole lot of things at a good enough level. Becoming a specialist means you make a lot more money. And that's what this is really all about.
Believe that you can just have one creative and Meta is going to be happy with that. Why is it difficult to work with multiple campaigns? First of all, there are a lot of different things that you need to cover when you are working with multiple campaigns comparing to working with one. When you are working with one, the only thing that you do is that you are adding creatives inside, you are just decreasing budget, and most of the times people don't even know how to decrease budget.
When you have only one campaign, it's not just launching ads and everything else. It's about understanding how those ads are interplaying, looking for PI analysis, spend, frequency, CPM, and efficiency, and leveraging the machine to understand the best way of producing a continuous and net positive user experience that also is good for your bank account to scale the rest of your business model, to get you more searches, more emails, and more customers who are likely to buy more than once. That is far more complicated than just throwing more ads in one ad set and calling it a day. I absolutely think that if you have one campaign with one ad set and you just throw more ads in it, you're likely to struggle. But the one campaign method was never about doing that. And I think there's been a lot of misinformation around that, which is why I continue to do these kinds of videos, to put fact to fiction and help people understand what the one campaign is really all about. Because what Konstantinos is saying doesn't work is something that I say you shouldn't do either. And I invented the one campaign. I fully agree that you should not leverage the one campaign methodology if you're going to use it improperly. With that in mind, let's keep going.
When we are working with multiple, there are a lot of things that we need to analyze and they're more difficult for people. Do you think that it's easy for me to explain CBO optimization, working with average results and all of that. No, it's more difficult. But this is what I see that is working on other accounts. And at the end of the day, they come and say,
prove to me that there is not an ad account that this cannot happen.
And no, you cannot prove it because, again, because we're working inside ad accounts, we have seen everything working and everything failing. So I'm not excluding the possibility that it's working. At the end of the day, everybody can say whatever they want on the internet.
Haters gonna hate.
But let's analyze a little bit what I see and what I believe, why I believe that it's more difficult to run it with multiple campaigns and multiple creatives. First of all, you need to understand that it's not like I'm going to do another creative just like that. You need to put thought behind it. You need to put different angles, different ideas, things that are going to resonate with different people. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to have a lot of different ideas, a lot of different angles. If you don't have that, you can have a lot of different products. You can always scale also by having different products.
You can scale by having a lot of different products, but it means you're going to attract a lot of different kinds of customers. And if you want a business, the business is about the acquisition of cash flow. Selling a lot of different products to people who never buy again means you're not a business, you're a salesperson. There's a very, very big difference between being a salesperson and having a business.
The second thing that you need to do, except from understanding that the creatives have to be different and not the same, don't do something that one of my clients in the past, I told him to give me different angles and he sent me the same picture with different background color. This is okay? So do different angles. Put thought behind it, okay? Try to trigger emotions, for example, okay? Don't try to do it just like this. As the example, for example, we had with the dog collar, okay? Try to put someone crying in the park because he lost his dog. Try to put an elder person that lost his companion. I know that it sounds cheap, but this is marketing. We try to convince people by playing with emotions, okay? The second thing that I want you to know is that you're working with average results. When you start having multiple campaigns, the thing that you need to understand is that you cannot just evaluate each one of the campaigns individually.
I don't know where he's going to go with this, so I'm going to make my piece, and then let's see what Konstantinos has to say. I agree that you're dealing with average results, but in the one campaign methodology, each campaign has a different business objective, meaning each campaign has a different set of target KPIs. If you have a campaign specifically trying to get customers who are likely to buy again and again, there is an allowable CPA for that transaction. If you're trying to have a campaign specifically weaponized for customer acquisition, maybe you're optimizing towards a new customer optimization event at the ad set, you're specifically focusing on the products that are most likely to get new customers to buy, you're going to have an allowable CAC there that's different than other campaigns. It's probably going to be a lot less. If you're running a catalog ad campaign, where you're specifically trying to improve the blended CPA by increasing the volume of transactions in the business, you're going to have a CPA target that's very different than the new customer one. And if you have a campaign specifically trying to push higher priced AOV bundles, well, you're going to have a greater allowable CPA for that because you're measuring against GPT. And again, like if you had a $20 CPA to a $100 AOV, that's a 5x ROAS. So you made $80 on the sale. But if you have a $100 CPA and a $300 AOV, your ROAS is a lot less, but you made $300 on that sale and $200 of it was profit. So all of these things have different KPIs. So yes, you're dealing with average results, but because each campaign has a different business objective, each campaign should be defined as successful or unsuccessful, and the optimization choices that are occurring within to achieve different sets of KPIs. That's what it's really all about. So yes, it's average, but each campaign should be measured against a different yardstick. Otherwise, there's probably not a reason to have two campaigns because they're just cannibalizing each other.
Going to do that on the beginning because you're going to do CBO optimization or ABO optimization, which is another big part of working like this. And inside that, when you are going to optimize your campaign fully, you are going to put this campaign inside your ecosystem, and then you're going to treat it with average results along with the other campaigns. So all the campaigns are giving you an average result, and this is what you're following. You don't necessarily touch one or the other, because if you do that, you're touching too much the account. So it's a safety mechanism for you to touch less. The average results are very important, and you need to understand them in order for you to be able to scale more and more with multiple campaigns. If you don't, it's going to fail for you. So different angles, CBO, ABO optimization, and we have also average results. What's the last part? The last part is cannibalization. We never said that using different creatives, it's going to be effective from the perspective we might think it's another angle, maybe it's not.
Before he gets any further, I just want to make my point on cannibalization, because I feel like in order for me to have the most genuine reaction here, he's stated a thesis. Let me give my point, and then he can state his. And for the record, I haven't watched this video yet. I am doing a raw reaction, so I want to keep it honest, right? Keep it 100. That's what we do here. Cannibalization occurs. It occurs on all campaigns. It occurs on all ad accounts. It occurs on all ads within an ad set. The customer journey that Andromeda is giving us is people being shown multiple ads in a different sequence. Now, what's important here, and one of the things, I'll quote my buddy McCoy from Portland Leather Goods, a guy spending well over $100,000 a day and following the one campaign method. Campaigns don't talk to each other. So campaign 1 is trying to produce a customer journey, and campaign 2 is also trying to produce a customer journey. If they have the same business objectives, they are going to win or lose at the expense of each other. And this is why, like we saw in the video with Chase, when he said the one campaign didn't work, and then he revealed later what the rest of the ad account was, as soon as he launched the mid-funnel retargeting campaign, the one campaign looked worse. Why? Because something else came in and took credit for the sales. And he was optimizing for return on ad spend. And remember, return on ad spend is not profit. It's not revenue. It's how much credit for the sales can we take, not how many sales can we make. There's a very big difference there. So with all that being said, I don't know where you're going to go, Konstantinos, but I love how you're phrasing all of this. I just wanted to get my point out so it wasn't colored by anything that you had to say. And again, keeping it 100, I've not watched this video yet. So let's see where he goes.
How we're going to check that? We're going to see on the 7 days intervals, we're going to check 7 days, the next 7 days, the next 7 days, and we're going to see if we are actually having the same amount of sales while we're spending more. And I have videos, it's called the daily loop theory, that I'm proving that, and I'm proving how Meta is actually stopping you, giving you the same amount of sales, because you need to find out which are the points that Meta is going to stop you because it thinks that it should not give you more. You have a threshold, for example, and it should give you that. Or
Meta doesn't care about your business. They're in no way ever trying to stop you from getting sales. I don't know what this is about, Konstantinos. I have to say I have not dived enough into your daily loop theory, but the idea that they are throttling your exposure is objectively false. I'll just leave it at that. There is zero evidence to support that idea, outside of maybe subjective views on how you're looking at results. And what I would imagine, if you're running multiple campaigns alongside of each other and you hit this like plateau, is that the cannibalization of all of the accounts and all of the ads that you're running, ultimately, you're not reaching more people because you're launching more ads, so they're being launched at the bottom of the funnel, which is preventing you from reaching new individuals. And because you're optimizing for something like ROAS, you're trying to get more credit for the sales that are occurring, not trying to produce more sales. So to understand the cannibalization by looking at total transaction count across multiple campaigns doesn't really tell you really what's happening. Although if all of your campaigns have a shared business objective, or perhaps they all have a very clouded business objective because they're promoting a bunch of different products to a bunch of different markets, what you're really doing is spending a lot of time and effort to produce a system with inconsistent unit economics, which means that you are unable to, in a reliable and scalable way, leverage the rest of the marketing funnel after the Facebook click. And because you're defining that success by essentially the dashboard inside of Meta, you're never going to achieve close to what you could otherwise. And this is one of the big things that we really need to understand. The reason I've been a part of a lot of 8-figure exits and helping build 9-figure companies is one great lesson I learned very early on. To really be successful, you have to change your mindset from being, how can I sell a product, to how do I buy a customer? What we're seeing here is a very elaborate methodology to get people to buy once. What we're not seeing is how to get the best person to come back and buy again and again, and having the simplest, most stable, most reliable way of reaching as many of those people as possible. And that's really the difference between having a very complicated ad account and having a simple one, is the goal Are you trying to sell anything that anybody wants? Or are you trying to get the best customer so that you can scale the cash flow of your business? One of those will get you astronomical growth. The other one will build a system that's complex and rise to the level that the business model can handle it. But it won't be the reason that the business gets exponentially bigger.
Because you are tapping too much in a specific niche or a specific hot pocket or whatever, you need to be able to track it, and for that it's a daily loop theory. A lot of people are going to have cannibalization, but they're not going to realize it. When you're working with multiple campaigns, it's something that you need to check and you need to be able to spot so that you can understand the limits that Meta is putting you or the limits that you're putting to yourself by using the same creatives and not trying to do others. The way for you to break that and do more is, first of all, to have different angles, as we said, different products, different countries, which is going to help you to expand more and you can increase the number of sales without losing on profit or overspending. And the next thing that it's a thing that it's actually making a huge difference on the higher budgets, like going from 1 million spent per month to 3-4 million, is influencers.
All right, and I agree with influencers. It's a great thing. I've been using them for a decade. These are great. I love the idea of different angles so that you can not be as cannibalistic between campaign. And again, I'm looking at the different campaigns having different business objectives. The different products, I don't disagree that selling different products is a way to avoid cannibalization. You can try to sell t-shirts and jeans. And that's how True Classic got huge, right? Now, here's the thing. The definition of success for True Classic on how they sell a t-shirt is very different than the definition of success on how they sell a pair of pants. And this again goes back to the business objectives. And if each campaign has a different set of ads that are focusing on different people with different angles for different reasons and have different business objectives, you can absolutely have multiple campaigns that have very low overlap. Now, there's obviously always going to be some, but that's absolutely a great way of doing it. I think that we're on the same page here, Konstantinos, about having different objectives. I'm just looking at the objectives as, how do I best acquire cash flow? How do I best focus on improving LTV? How do I best focus on suppressing my blended CPA in an omni-channel fashion? How do I best acquire new customers for the lowest cost that are likely to buy again and again? What is the number one tool that I have in my business to do that job? And until I've maximized the value of that effort, it's an opportunity cost that is net negative for me to try to do a second or a third or a fourth. If you can make a nickel and somewhere else you can make a dime and somewhere else you make a buck, every time you invest in making a nickel, you lose 95 cents. So let's not try to do a few things when one of them is objectively better than the rest until you've maximized the leverage on that one and you need to do something else. That's really what it's all about.
License can help you scale a lot. The last part, which we have at least once per year, it's attack periods. And by attack periods, I mean the Black Friday. A lot of times the ad accounts are having thresholds. For example, you are reaching to the point that you're getting, I have a recent video, I believe that I showed you 1,300 sales. It doesn't let me go beyond that without compensating on ROAS. So how can I?
Just a quick reminder, ROAS is not profit. It's attributed revenue divided by ad spend. And let's just debunk this real quick. Attributed revenue assumes that the last touch point, that last ad or ad set or campaign, takes credit for 100% of the customer journey. Now, we know that that's not true, especially if you have more than one ad or more than one ad set or more than one campaign or more than one marketing platform. Somebody could see your Facebook ad, click on it, then later that day, Google search something, go to the website, sign up for an email promotion, and then tomorrow take the 10% off with the discount code, and Meta, Google, and Klaviyo are all going to take credit for the sale, but there's only one sale. Well, the same thing happens in the ad account, except only one touch point. The last one is going to get credit for everything. It's the person handing out the water at the 25th mile of the marathon. It's not the reason you started. Andromeda is optimizing to get as many people to start the marathon as possible. ROAS is basically saying an inaccurate number, that revenue that we're assigning to one touch point, even though it's not the only touch point, is then divided by the ad spend for that touch point. But again, we know the ad spend is placed elsewhere. So it's an inaccurate number divided by a number that is not the only reason it occurred. And because of that, ROAS itself is a complete nonsense metric. It's not actionable. At best, it's a retroactive report of what was the last touch point. And you could level it up to MER, which is basically ROAS on a business level. But the thing is, your MER is going to shift basically every day. And it's going to be dramatically different if you get more returns or more repeat buyers or you run a discount. It's not actionable information. So when people talk about ROAS as the target, that's a huge red flag that what they're not talking about is volume of profit. They're talking about how much credit for the profit do their efforts take. And that is a massive point that I really want to make sure that we drive home here today. All right, let's get back to it.
I break that attack periods. Okay, so I can go into an attack period like the period of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, where the demand is higher, and I can go in a higher tier. Basically, Meta thinks that now this advertiser, he can have 1,500, 1,600 sales, for example.
Again, there's no limitation on the platform. And again, to reiterate, ROAS itself is not a performance metric. But if you're stuck and you every time you raise the budget, you go from a 3.25 to a 3x ROAS, okay. What if you went from a 3 to a 2, but you tripled the volume of transactions? What if you went from a 2 to a 1.5 and you doubled the volume of transactions again? And what if you did that in a way that also dramatically increased the volume of searches and emails and customers that are buying the product that gets them to come back and buy again and again? What if instead of defining the success of the growth of your business by the efficiency of the top of the funnel, you focused on how much leverage you create for the entire business model? I would say that's probably a more effective way of making a lot of money. And in my experience, that's what gets people past these thresholds that are 100% not placed by the platform. This is operator error presenting as a limitation. And instead of saying it's the machine's fault, we begin to say, what am I doing that's not allowing me to be less efficient? What am I doing that is forcing me to maintain these constraints? And when we understand how to solve that problem, we untap massive growth.
On the 7 days intervals always without Meta stopping me. So I can do that. I have done this successfully with several brands that they were stuck, and then with Black Friday I was able to unblock it and then continue the next year like this. Of course, then you reach again a point you can do this up to 500K to 1 million, depending on your product and how good it is on the market and how much demand it has. After that point, the only way that at least I have done it, except from multiple creatives, is influencers, partnership ads, and all of that, which have helped me scale that accounts to 3, 4, 5 million per month. It's the max that I have done. I'm not counting.
Another way, again, to get past that point, and I've done it repeatedly for years, is to focus on incremental lift to more effective marketing channels. That's how you scale a business. If you're only ever trying to scale by keeping your least efficient marketing channel as efficient as possible, what you're really doing is choking the volume of opportunity to everybody else. And if you're selling a bunch of different products, that also means you have a bunch of different kinds of customers that are coming to your store. And if you're running a bunch of different ads, it means that even for the products that you do sell, there's a bunch of different kinds of people trying to buy it. What that ultimately means is it's exponentially more difficult to improve conversion rate. It's exponentially more difficult to improve the average order value. It's exponentially more difficult to get somebody to come back and buy again because you have dozens and hundreds or countless number of people coming in for countless number of reasons to countless number of products. That is an unsolvable math equation. But if you were to say, this is the scrub daddy and I know how to sell it to these 5 people and there's a million of each one of these, you can build a business that's massive. And if you look around the D2C brands that have blown up, they all do that. That's the key to success. Or they build a community that's massive around the business so they can sell all sorts of things. But again, there's an inflection point, a cheat code, an unfair advantage they're taking. And it is never about trying to keep a ROAS on all of your campaigns above a certain level and doing anything to make that work, unless you're willing to continue to hit these thresholds where it feels like the machine is stopping you. But the machine isn't stopping you. You're just preventing it from getting smarter, and you're preventing the rest of the business from being able to handle that lack of efficiency on the front end with increased leverage of opportunity on the back end. That's what it's really all about. So that being said, let's wrap this up.
Counting Black Friday, the other account that was doing 5 million per month, it did 10 million on a month on Black Friday, but this is irrelevant to the discussion. My record on another account is 5 million. This is as far as my knowledge goes. So, you know why they fail, you know why the others are teaching it. It's time for you to choose where you're going to go. Are you going to go to side one, which is for lazy people, or in the side that is going to make you more successful with your Facebook ads?
So I'd rather run a business than day trade an ad account, especially if that means I'm going to be able to spend more and make more on a consistent basis because I know how my ads are going to perform because they don't fatigue and I have singular goals. Ultimately, I think this is where the biggest fork in the road is between him and myself. This is a very complicated setup that produces instability rather than focuses on producing predictability that allows you to measure and scale well beyond any artificial limitation that he says for some reason Meta places on it, which I don't think they do at all. Now, keep in mind, every single strategy can change and every single strategy will change. It is critical to learn new things and to challenge yourself. And in this next video, we're going to dive into how Sam Piliero runs his M3 method and his thoughts on the one campaign. So check it out. Don't forget the links down below. Subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I'll see you on the internet. Bye. Done.